Wow. Yay, we're here. We're not quite next to each other, but it's the daily dose. Again, there was a bit of a hiatus, folks. We apologize for that. We tried our best and some time went by because one of us was off running a crazy marathon with his dad.
Yeah.
And that was not me. Wow.
Well, there was a 3-week period that really was crazy from, graduation through the marathon. I mean, it just, and there was, I know on your side, a lot of self-care, and you getting out to Orlando, was an amazing thing. Your level of support for the family was unbelievable. Because
to manage
a
proper wheelchair that your dad was in,
right,
and a giant 3-wheeled bike, a chair in a giant box, and luggage, and 2 elderly parents.
Yeah.
And you by yourself until we hooked up in Orlando. Yes, it was a lot. But the picture of your dad when the chair wouldn't fit in the elevator is maybe the prize winner of all. Would you like to share with our viewing audience the only solution to that problem?
Please, again, visit us on Facebook. You'll find me at Robert Cochran. You'll find her at Susan Scarlett. And Yes and Exercise, you can find us there too. There's a photo posted of my dad because the running wheelchair is quite long, probably about 6 feet or so. Most elevators don't go that deep. This one didn't. I knew that on its own, it can fit pointing straight up because I do that at my parents' elevator at their place. Now, I'd never done it with my dad in the chair. And the thing is, taking him in and out was a little difficult and he didn't have anywhere else to be. So I was like, Dad, what would you think if I just laid you on your back and you'll be pointing at the ceiling and we do that so we don't have to totally, disengage this thing. And thankfully he said, yeah, sure. And so he did it and took this picture. And it looks like he's in an inversion table. Yeah.
Did you put your hand, the camera way up over your head?
Yeah, it was a wide angle too, so that helped.
It was just brilliant. Please, those of you who are watching us, go check it out. You will laugh.
It's one of the it's a yes and situation, right? I mean, this is an application of what we talk about, how improv is more than performance. Certainly, it's a life skill. We say yes, the elevator's too small, and my dad's in this chair, so how are we going to do this thing, knowing that he doesn't have great mobility without? It's not like he can really walk. He could stand, but then there's getting him in and out of it, and that's always an issue. And so thankfully, again, he said yes to that. And he had a lot of blood in his head for a little bit, but
well, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I had a family call me today to wish me happy birthday, and which was last week. I've been celebrating my birthday for about 10 days now. It's great. Yeah. And in telling them about this work that I'm doing with you, the concept of yes and is so foundational and fundamental to the growth that I personally experienced, in that I had no idea what I was doing when I first started, helping with your clinical trials and stuff. Everything that you did and said was yes and. And so as a consequence, I felt heard, seen, accepted. And what did that do? That's ever so slowly built my self-confidence to be able to do this wacky stuff that we do that's called improv, and sometimes it's called gibberish, and has elements to it that really were not in my comfort zone. But because of the Yaks method and the way you teach, it really did help build a community, and that community, I felt supported by that community and was willing to try stuff that previously I was saying to my cousin, it was like the little girl in me came out. There was, the joy has always been there. Everybody knows that about me, but they maybe never got to see me be quite so playful as I've been since I found this world.
You're using the exact words that I so hoped would come up, and the research points toward, which are play, joy, childlike nature, all of those things, the acceptance of self, the whole self, right? And you getting to shine your light in that direction, not just as, like you said, a beacon of joy that people can see, in one fashion, but wholeheartedly playing through that joy, engaging through that joy. And as you said, throwing these great little quips and one-liners in places that maybe you wouldn't have said before. And now you recognize, oh, I'm safe to do that. I'm not a bad person if I say this thing or something. And it's
I
amazing.
know. I've teased you a couple times too. And yeah, and I could see that I got you that. I mean, I almost was like ready to apologize that if I hurt your feelings or something, because I'm so unaccustomed to doing that. And we had a whole conversation about teasing in the family.
Yeah.
And my cousin's wife is from Lebanon. And I asked my cousin if his father joked around. And then the wife came on, my cousin's wife came on, and she said, I have an example for you. She said, the day I met him, and she has a very strong French accent. She said, hello, and gave him her hand and told him her name. And he heard her French accent. And he said the very first words, the man who became her father-in-law said to her, voulez-vous coucher avec moi?
Wow.
Exactly. And she
Yeah.
said, I knew, she said, I was just like stopped in my tracks. And then she said, I looked around and everybody understood.
Started
There
in.
was a sense of humor there, right?
Yeah.
So the accents help bring that out in me and others, and then you validating it and us beginning to validate it for each other, because we begin to understand this. This is good stuff.
It's
Play is great stuff. Engaging is play is great stuff.
It is. It's play, and we'll certainly talk more about it. Let's just underline play and say thank you, and that's your daily dose.